Lina Chen stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of her family's penthouse, gazing at the city lights that blurred into streaks of gold and silver. She was the eldest daughter of the Chen family, a name known for its wealth and connections. But tonight, wealth felt like chains around her heart. "Lina, dinner is ready," her mother's soft voice called from the dining room. Lina turned reluctantly. Her mother, graceful and subdued, always carried the weight of her husband's decisions without protest. She wanted to say something, Lina knew, but words never left her lips. At the dinner table, Mr. Chen, her father, leaned back in his chair, eyes cold and calculating. "Lina," he began, voice smooth but sharp, "it's time we finalize your engagement to Jian Wei. It's a very suitable match for the family." Lina's heart sank. Jian Wei, a man she had met only once, was kind in a quiet, awkward way. But he was disabled, confined to a wheelchair, and her father treated the union like a business deal, not a marriage. "Father," Lina's voice trembled, I don't think I'm ready." "Not ready," her father's eyes narrowed. "Lina, this isn't about your feelings. It's about the Chen family. Connections, influence, status. You're not a child anymore." Her brother, Yu Lin, leaned back with a smirk. "Honestly, sis, just go along with it. The family benefits, we all benefit. Don't make a fuss." Lina's mother placed her hand on her husband's arm, her eyes flicking to Lina. There was doubt in her gaze, but she said nothing. The decision had already been made. That night, Lina tried to reason with herself. Maybe it wasn't about love, it never had been in this house. But the humiliation of being handed over to someone she barely knew, someone her family viewed as a transaction, made her stomach churn. At the engagement ceremony, the grandeur of the hall, the expensive floral arrangements, the carefully rehearsed smiles, it all felt hollow. Jian Wei's mother whispered polite words, her eyes apologetic, while Jian Wei himself sat quietly, giving Lina a small, timid smile. Lina forced one back. As the ceremony ended, Mr. Chen pulled her aside. "Remember, Lina, in this family, you do what is expected. Don't embarrass us. The Chen name is everything." She nodded, though her chest tightened. That night, lying awake in her cold room, she felt the weight of betrayal and the sharp sting of helplessness. Her life was no longer her own. Then, tragedy struck. It was a late evening drive when the accident happened. A speeding car, a sharp turn, and Lina's world went black. Pain, confusion, and darkness engulfed her. And then, silence. When Lina opened her eyes again, she was in her childhood bedroom. Everything was as it had been years ago, before the engagement, before the family's plans for her life had suffocated her. Her heartbeat raced. No, it can't be. She touched her face, arms, everything. She remembered. Every insult, every humiliation, every moment of helplessness and the accident. It was real. She had been given a second chance. Tears fell, but they were not tears of sadness. They were the tears of someone reborn, someone who had seen the future and could now rewrite it. "I won't be weak this time," Lina whispered to herself. "I won't let them decide my life. I won't be sold, I won't be humiliated. I'll rise higher than they ever imagined." Outside, the city lights still shimmered, but Lina saw them differently now. They weren't chains, they were possibilities. The game had changed. And this time, Lina Chen was ready to play and to win. Lina Chen sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the familiar pale blue curtains swaying gently in the morning breeze. Everything looked exactly the same as it had years ago, before the engagement, before the accident, before her life was traded like a contract. But she was not the same. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Lina picked it up slowly. The date on the screen confirmed it. She had gone back 5 years. 5 years before her family sold her future. Her fingers tightened around the phone. In her previous life, this morning had been ordinary. She had rushed to work, ignored her father's cold looks, and lived quietly, believing that patience would earn her love. It never had. This time, she would not make the same mistake. Downstairs, the Chen family breakfast table looked peaceful on the surface. Mr. Chen skimmed through financial news on his tablet. Yu Lin complained about his coffee being too cold. Mrs. Chen sat quietly, folding a napkin again and again. Lina, her father said without looking up, "You're late." Lina met his gaze calmly. "I woke up early. I just didn't rush." Her father paused, surprised by her tone. "What do you mean?" "It means," Lina said evenly as she sat down, "I'll manage my own schedule from now on." The air at the table froze. Yulin laughed. "Did you hit your head or something? Since when do you talk like that?" Lina ignored him. In her past life, she would have apologized already. Today, she calmly poured herself a cup of tea. Mr. Chen frowned. "Don't forget your place, Lina. You live under this roof." "I know," she replied softly, then looked up, eyes clear and steady. "That's why I'm planning to move out." Her mother's hand trembled slightly. "Lina." "I'm not asking," Lina added. "I'm informing you." She stood up before anyone could stop her and walked away. Her heartbeat was fast, but not from fear. It was excitement, the thrill of taking back control. Later that day, Lina went to a cafe near her old office. In her past life, she had worked there for years, unnoticed and underpaid, while watching opportunities pass her by. This time, she knew exactly what would happen and when. She pulled out her notebook. Inside were names, dates, and events she remembered clearly. A failed startup that would later explode in success. A marketing trend that hadn't gone mainstream yet. A competition that could change her career. "I won't wait for fate," she murmured. "I'll walk toward it." That evening, her mother knocked on her bedroom door. "Come in," Lina said gently. Mrs. Chen sat beside her, eyes full of worry. "Your father is angry. You shouldn't provoke him like that." Lina smiled faintly. "Mom, when has silence ever protected me?" Her mother looked down. She had no answer. "I know you're scared," Lina continued softly. "But I'm not a bargaining chip. I won't marry for the family's benefit. Not again." Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. "Again?" Lina realized her mistake and quickly corrected herself. "I mean, ever." Her mother sighed. "Your father already has plans. Powerful families are interested." Lina's smile faded. "Then I'll make myself too valuable to trade." The next few weeks passed quickly. Lina applied for a new job, one far above her old position. In her previous life, she had been rejected because she lacked confidence. This time, she walked into the interview with calm assurance, answering every question with clarity. The interviewer blinked in surprise. "You seem different from your resume." Lina smiled. "That's because I finally know my worth." She got the job. When the offer letter arrived, Lina stared at the screen for a long time. In her past life, this opportunity had gone to someone else. Someone who later used it to climb high in the industry. This time, it was hers. At home, the atmosphere shifted. Mr. Chen noticed the late nights, the new clothes, the quiet confidence. "She's changing," he said coldly to Yulin. "So what?" Yulin scoffed. "She's still just a daughter." Mr. Chen's eyes darkened. "No. She's becoming difficult." That night, Lina stood by the same window she once cried beside. The city lights glowed brightly, reflecting in her eyes. In her past life, she had believed endurance was strength. Now she knew better. Strength was choosing herself. And this was only the beginning. The glass doors of the office building slid open, and Lina Chen stepped inside with steady confidence. The lobby was bright, modern, and buzzing with energy, nothing like the dull, suffocating office she had wasted years in during her previous life. This company, Nova Marketing, would become one of the fastest-growing firms in the city within 3 years. Lina remembered it clearly. In her past life, she had watched from afar as others rose here while she remained invisible. This time, she was early. "New hire?" the receptionist asked with a polite smile. "Yes." "Lina Chen," she replied, holding out her ID. As she walked toward the elevator, Lina felt a familiar tension in her chest, but she didn't let it slow her down. Fear had ruled her before. Now, it was only a reminder of how far she intended to go. Her first week was intense. Meetings, presentations, brainstorming sessions that lasted late into the night. Lina absorbed everything quickly, often surprising her teammates with ideas that felt ahead of their time. "This campaign concept is risky," one colleague said during a meeting. Lina leaned forward. "But it targets user emotion, not just product features. People don't buy logic. They buy stories." The room fell silent. Their manager tapped the table thoughtfully. "Let's test it." That proposal became a success. Whispers started circulating. "She's new, but sharp. Where did she come from?" Lina heard them all. In her past life, she would have shrunk under attention. Now, she welcomed it. One evening, as she stayed late refining a pitch deck, the office lights dimmed automatically. Footsteps echoed behind her. "You work like someone who knows exactly what's coming." Lina turned. The man standing there wore a tailored suit, his expression calm but observant. He looked out of place among the exhausted staff, too composed, too deliberate. "I'm Kai Zhao," he said, extending a hand. "Investor. I'm reviewing Nova's upcoming projects." Lina shook his hand briefly. "Lina Chen." His eyes lingered on her screen. "That model you're using, it's unconventional." "It works," she replied simply. A slow smile appeared on his face. Confidence. Rare these days. In her previous life, Lina had heard the name Kai Zhao before only in news articles. A self-made entrepreneur. Strategic. Untouchable. Someone her family could never control. She hadn't expected to meet him this soon. Over the next few weeks, Kai appeared often. Always observing. Always asking questions, most of them directed at Lina. "You don't sound like someone chasing approval," he said once during a late discussion. "I already know what I can do," Lina answered. Approval is optional. That answer stayed with him. Back at the Chen household, the mood darkened. Lina had started coming home late, or not at all. She moved into a small apartment near her office, something she had never dared to do before. "She's wasting money," Lin complained. "Trying to act independent." Mr. Chen said nothing, but his gaze was sharp. He began making calls. Soon enough, trouble followed. One morning, Lina was called into a meeting room. Her manager's expression was serious. "There's a complaint," he said. "Someone claims you leaked internal data." Lina's mind went cold. In her past life, this was exactly how her career had ended. But she had learned. "May I see the evidence?" she asked calmly. An email thread appeared on the screen. Familiar. Too familiar. Lina smiled faintly. "That account doesn't belong to me," she said. "And this document version was created before I joined the company." Silence. She pulled out her laptop and projected system timestamps, access logs, and metadata, proof she had prepared long before. Her manager exhaled sharply. "We'll investigate further." 2 days later, the truth came out. The complaint had been submitted through a shell company, one connected to the Chen family. When Mr. Chen received the call, his face darkened. "She's grown teeth," he muttered. That evening, Lina sat alone on her apartment balcony, city air cool against her skin. For the first time, she felt something close to peace. Her phone buzzed. "Kai Zhao. You handled that situation well. Most people panic." Lina typed back after a pause. "Panic wastes time." A moment later, another message appeared. "I'm starting a new project. I could use someone like you." She stared at the screen. In her previous life, opportunities like this had passed her by because she was too afraid to reach out. This time, she smiled. "Let's talk," she replied. Inside the Chen household, unseen cracks began to spread. The daughter they had once controlled was slipping beyond their grasp. And Lina Chen? She had finally broken her first chain. Success never comes quietly. Lina Chen learned that lesson quickly. The moment she started standing out at Nova Marketing, invitations followed, industry mixers, private networking dinners, closed-door meetings that promised opportunity. In her past life, these had been out of reach. Now, she knew better than to trust them blindly. Especially when the invitation came from her father. "Come home for dinner," Mr. Chen said over the phone, his tone unusually warm. "We should talk. As a family." Lina stared at the wall of her apartment, her reflection faint in the glass. In her previous life, this dinner had been the beginning of her downfall. This time, she smiled. "Of course," she replied. "I'll be there." The Chen house was brightly lit when Lina arrived. The table was filled with dishes she liked, ones her father had never bothered to remember before. "Sit," Mr. Chen said, gesturing kindly. "You've been working hard." Lin rolled his eyes, but said nothing. During dinner, her father spoke of reconciliation, of family unity, of pride. Lina listened quietly, eating slowly. Then came the real reason. "I have a small favor," Mr. Chen said casually. "There's a partnership contract I'd like you to review. You're familiar with marketing trends now." He slid a folder across the table. Lina didn't open it. "I can look," she said calmly. "But I won't sign anything." Her father's smile stiffened for half a second. "Of course," he said. "Just advice." Later that night, Lina scanned the contract carefully in her apartment. Just as she remembered, hidden clauses transferred liability to the consultant, her. A trap. If the deal failed, she would be responsible. In her past life, she had signed without reading. This time, she printed a copy, highlighted the clauses, and sent it anonymously to the partner company's legal department with a polite note questioning its ethics. The fallout was immediate. The next morning, Mr. Chen's phone rang non-stop. The deal collapsed. His reputation took a hit. At the office, Lina received another kind of shock. Her project proposal, one she had worked on for weeks, was presented by someone else during a board review. She sat frozen as her colleague smiled and took credit. In her past life, Lina would have swallowed the injustice. Now, she stood up. "That's my work," she said clearly. "I have timestamps, drafts, and emails to prove it." The room went silent. Her manager asked for evidence. Lina provided everything, calm and precise. The truth became undeniable. The colleague's face drained of color. After the meeting, Kai Jiao found her in the hallway. "You don't hesitate," he said quietly. "I hesitate when it matters," Lina replied. "Not when it costs me my future." That night, Lina's mother came to her apartment unannounced. "I didn't know," Mrs. Chen said, eyes red. "About the contract. About your father using you." Lina poured her a glass of water. "You suspected. That's enough." Her mother looked at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. "You're not the little girl who waited anymore." "No," Lina said softly. "I can't afford to be." The next day, Lina attended a public industry forum. Kai Jiao was one of the keynote speakers. Midway through his talk, he referenced a marketing strategy, hers. "Innovation," he said, looking directly at Lina, "comes from people brave enough to break patterns." Applause filled the room. Mr. Chen watched the livestream from his office, his expression dark. "She's challenging me," he said through clenched teeth. Lin scoffed. "She's still just a woman. How far can she go?" Mr. Chen slammed his fist on the desk. "Far enough to be dangerous." That evening, Lina stood on the stage for the first time, invited to speak alongside senior professionals. Her voice was steady, her presence undeniable. As she stepped down, she felt it clearly, the shift. She was no longer reacting. She was leading. And for the first time, her family realized something terrifying. The daughter they once planned to sell was now beyond their control. By the time Lina Chen's name appeared on an industry ranking list, there was no turning back. She didn't rank high yet, but she was the youngest name on the page. And in a world that thrived on hierarchy, that alone was enough to draw attention. Some of it was admiration. Some of it was hunger. Nova Marketing announced a joint venture with ZK Capital, Kai Jiao's firm. The project was ambitious, a citywide digital branding platform. Lina was appointed as one of the core leads. "You're moving fast," one senior colleague warned her. "Too fast." Lina smiled politely. "Fast doesn't mean careless." Behind closed doors, resistance grew. Meetings became battlegrounds. Suggestions were questioned not for their logic, but for their source. "She's too young. She doesn't know the rules." She thinks backing from Kai Jiao makes her untouchable. Lina heard every whisper. She made sure to document everything: emails, approvals, meeting minutes. Power, she had learned, was not just about talent. It was about proof. One afternoon, Kai invited her for coffee. "You're surrounded by both allies and enemies now," he said, stirring his cup slowly. "How does it feel?" "Clear," Lina replied. "In the past, I couldn't tell who was who." Kai studied her. "You don't ask for help." "I know," she said honestly. "I'm learning." He nodded. "Good. Because you don't have to fight alone anymore." Back at the Chen household, tension finally exploded. Mr. Chen's latest investment failed, partly due to Lina's anonymous legal tip months ago. Yu Lin stormed into the living room. "She did this," he snapped. "Ever since she left, everything's gone wrong." Mr. Chen's jaw tightened. "Call her back." Lina received the call while reviewing contracts. "I won't return," she said calmly. "This family raised you," Mr. Chen growled. "You owe us." "I paid my debt," Lina replied. "With interest." She hung up. That night, an anonymous post began circulating online accusing Lina of using connections to rise, questioning her integrity. The tone was subtle but poisonous. In her previous life, such rumors had destroyed her reputation. This time, Lina acted immediately. She released a public statement, professional, factual, supported by documentation. Nova backed her. ZK Capital backed her. The rumor died within hours. But the source didn't go unnoticed. Her brother. When Yu Lin confronted her days later, his eyes burned with resentment. "You think you're better than us now?" "I think I'm better than who I was," Lina answered. He laughed bitterly. "You'll fall." Lina met his gaze without fear. "Then I'll stand back up." As pressure mounted, the project reached its final pitch, a city council presentation that could secure long-term funding. The night before, Lina stayed in the office alone, rehearsing. Kai returned unexpectedly. "You don't trust luck," he said. "I trust preparation." He watched her for a moment. "When this is over, would you consider building something of your own?" Lina paused. In her past life, she had never been asked that. "Yes," she said. "One day." The presentation was a success. Applause echoed through the chamber. Contracts were signed. Lina stood among leaders twice her age and belonged there. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "Your father is under investigation." "I'm sorry." Lina closed her eyes briefly, not in triumph, but in release. She had chosen a different path. And now, there was no going back. The investigation into the Chen family spread quietly at first, like a crack beneath the surface. Then, suddenly, everything collapsed at once. Mr. Chen sat in his office, staring at the official notice in his hands. Financial misconduct. False contracts. Shell companies. Years of careful manipulation were being dragged into the light. "This is impossible," he muttered. But deep down, he knew exactly who had started it. Lina Chen. Across the city, Lina stood in a conference room, listening calmly as Nova's legal team briefed her. "The Chen Group's assets may be frozen," the lawyer said. "Your name appears in some documents, but only as a victim. You're legally clear." Lina nodded. She had made sure of that long ago. In her past life, she had been buried alongside their sins. This time, she stood clean. News broke within hours. Headlines were careful but sharp. Investors withdrew. Partners distanced themselves. The Chen family name, once a symbol of status, became something people avoided mentioning. Mrs. Chen watched the news in silence, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Where did we go wrong?" she whispered. When she went to see Lina, the apartment door opened slowly. "I don't want money," Mrs. Chen said immediately. "Or favors. I want to know if you're angry with me." Lina looked at her mother for a long time. "I was," she said softly. "For a long time." Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. "But anger takes energy," Lina continued. "I don't want to carry it anymore." Her mother broke down then, not dramatically, but quietly, as if years of regret finally found a place to rest. I should have protected you, she sobbed. Lina placed a hand over hers. You're here now. It was the first time they felt like mother and daughter, not strangers bound by silence. Meanwhile, Lin refused to accept reality. This is her fault, he shouted at his father. She exposed us. Mr. Chen slapped him. The room went silent. You think I don't know? Mr. Chen said hoarsely. I taught her to be ruthless. For the first time, he saw it clearly. Lina hadn't changed randomly. She had learned from him. The final blow came days later. At a public inquiry, Lina was called as a witness not to accuse, but to clarify past transactions involving her forced engagement and financial manipulation. She stood at the podium, calm and composed. I was pressured into a marriage for business gain, she said evenly. Contracts were signed using my name without informed consent. The room murmured. Mr. Chen watched from the back row, his shoulders heavy. This wasn't revenge. This was truth. Outside the building, reporters gathered, but Lina walked past them without stopping. She had nothing to explain. Kai Jiao waited by the car. You didn't look back, he said quietly. I already lived that life once, Lina replied. I don't need to relive it again. That night, Lina stood alone on her balcony, city lights reflecting in her eyes. For the first time, there was no fear chasing her thoughts. No family shadow looming behind her. Just space. Freedom. Her phone buzzed. Kai. It's over. She typed back after a moment. No. It's beginning. In a dim apartment across town, Mr. Chen sat alone. No assistants. No calls. Just silence. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to lose something priceless. A daughter who had once waited for his approval. And no longer needed it. Spring arrived gently that year. The city looked the same, but Lina Chen felt different walking through it, lighter, steadier, unafraid. The past no longer followed her like a shadow. It stayed where it belonged. Behind her. Nova Marketing officially announced Lina's departure on a calm Monday morning. The notice was brief, respectful, and full of praise. Rumors exploded. She's leaving at her peak. Did ZK Capital poach her? She's starting something new. All of it was true, just not the way people thought. In a sunlit office overlooking the river, Lina stood before a whiteboard covered in plans. Her name sat at the top of the page, followed by a single word. Ascent. Her company. Not inherited. Not borrowed. Built. Kai Jiao leaned against the desk, watching her thoughtfully. You know this won't be easy. Lina capped the marker. Easy was never my goal. He smiled. Then I'll invest. But on one condition. She raised an eyebrow. Which is? You lead. I support. Lina held his gaze for a moment, then nodded. Deal. Their partnership was clean, balanced, and built on trust, something Lina had never had before. Months passed. Ascent grew steadily. Lina chose her team carefully, favoring integrity over resumes. The projects were bold, human-centered, and quietly revolutionary. Brands listened. Clients followed. And Lina thrived. One afternoon, she received a message she hadn't expected. Her father wanted to see her. Lina hesitated, then agreed. They met in a small tea house far from the city center. Mr. Chen looked older. Smaller. The sharp edge he once carried had dulled. I won't ask for forgiveness, he said finally. I know I don't deserve it. Lina waited. You were right, he continued. I treated you like a tool. I lost you because of it. Silence stretched between them. I won't return, Lina said gently. But I won't hate you either. Mr. Chen nodded slowly. It was more mercy than he had earned. As she stood to leave, he spoke again. You rose higher than I ever did. Lina paused, but didn't turn back. That evening, Ascent celebrated its first major contract. Laughter filled the office. Music played softly. For the first time, Lina looked around and felt something unfamiliar. Belonging. Later, on the rooftop, the city spread out before her. Kai stood beside her, hands in his pockets. You don't need anyone, he said quietly. Lina smiled. No. But I choose. He met her gaze. Is that a yes? She nodded. Below them, the city lights shimmered, no longer chains, no longer tests. Just a future waiting to be lived. In another life, Lina Chen had been sold, silenced, and erased. In this one, she chose herself. And rose higher than anyone ever expected.